Okay, hi everyone. I am very excited to kick off our webinar. I am joined by Natalie McKay, Senior Product Marketing Manager of CCAS at 8x8. We're going to be discussing how to empower supervisors in the age of AI. We often talk about frontline workers and agents, but supervisors are such a huge part of this equation. So very excited to have you join, Natalie. Welcome.
Same here. Really excited for the discussion today.
I am too. Okay, so I want to start with the balance of AI and human oversight in contact centers because I think that's such an important topic right now. So, how are leading organizations thinking about this balance between AI and human oversight in contact centers? And can, at a high level, what are you thinking?
Absolutely. Well, first off, I just want to say at the top of the webinar, just kind of a quick disclaimer. For all of my answers for today's webinar, I'm going to provide statistics from leading analyst reports. I'm going to talk about what we're seeing with our current customers as well. But I realize that with everything in the age of AI, right, it's changing so rapidly. And I know there's always a chance of what I could be saying today is going to be drastically different, 3 months, 6 months, a year from now. So I just wanted to make a quick note that this information is, a snapshot in time, if you will, and of course can change with the evolution of AI. But back to your question, Brooke, I really believe that even in this time where AI is everywhere, it's in every product, right? It's in every ad that we see, every leader's mind. We really have to remember that technology is only as powerful or as good as the people that are using it. And AI is very important, like, don't get me wrong, but what we're seeing is very interesting statistics about what consumers want in this AI-driven era. So in the latest 8x8 Street View survey that we conducted, we found that 83% of respondents in that survey across the United Kingdom primarily prefer speaking to a real person, and only 4% prefer speaking to a virtual agent or a chatbot. A recent survey by Euromonitor International found that when it comes to troubleshooting and customer service, many customers would still rather explain their issue to a human ear, with almost 65% of the respondents in that survey saying that they still prefer to contact a brand via phone or email, if anything. So we have this challenge that supervisors and contact center leaders as well are feeling this pressure of trying to figure out how to leverage AI to drive lower cost of ownership, while also recognizing that consumers still care very much and prefer human connection over AI in a lot of instances. So you can see that really hard challenge that they're facing of this kind of balance between the two. And I believe that leading organizations are thinking about investing in AI, but they're also thinking strategically about where AI can truly help their human agents excel in the roles, and where AI can truly move the needle in terms of real operational efficiency. So supervisors and contact center leaders at leading organizations aren't just, implementing AI to check a box for their CEO or maybe leadership that is telling them, hey, you need to invest in some kind of AI for operational efficiency and cost. But they're also thinking how AI fits into the agent's workflow and not the other way around. So for example, something as relatively simple as post-call transcriptions can significantly reduce agent wrap-up time by reducing that manual note-taking process that they have. And it doesn't need to be complex to have a real impact in terms of AI investments. And that's just a great example of that.
Thanks so much for sharing. And I so agree. I mean, on our side from CCW, we see the same thing where, customers still want that human connection and that human touch. And yet we are making so much progress and really innovating in so many different ways. So it is just kind of this interesting dynamic right now. So definitely something that we can work to combat with really intentional use of AI and making sure it's adding value, but excited to talk a little bit more about that today. So in terms of the supervisor role, I know that's really what we're here to talk about. Where do you see AI making the most measurable difference for supervisors right now? Is it coaching, quality management, escalation? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, absolutely. I'd say AI is providing really tangible results in terms of quality management and coaching 100%. In the CX optimization report from 2025 by Metrigy, supervisors now save on average 12 hours per week through AI-driven automated quality management. up from just 3 hours in 2024. So you can really see that rapid increase in ROI. So gone are the days where we've heard this so many times, where random sampling interactions for evaluations is the norm or the standard. Supervisors are really leveraging AI to automate previously manual quality management processes to free themselves up to focus on higher value coaching and leadership. And I want to double down on this point in a slightly different way. Because AI is so often used for deflecting simple requests so agents can focus on those more complex support inquiries, that's also leading to burnout. And I don't think we're really talking about that enough in our industry. And it really makes sense, right? By having more time to coach your agents, though, and provide them that level of focused training, I think is huge for reducing the burnout that agents continue to feel. So we all know that the role of a contact center agent is so difficult, and having more high value coaching truly helps agents feel connected, feel supported, and really increases their engagement, which of course plays a big role in reducing overall attrition.
So I want to talk about technology because that is a piece of, really supporting supervisors and making sure that they have all that they need to do exactly what you just said. So what do you think differentiates vendors who treat supervisors as strategic users versus those who just treat them as really any other role?
Absolutely. I think the real differentiator is whether or not a vendor views supervisors as leaders of performance or just kind of middle managers in the workflow. So in other words, I think strategic vendors build platforms that elevate supervisors into analysts and true coaches. Again, according to that same report by Metrigy on CX optimization for this year, organizations using AI-powered tools that automate call reviews, generate performance summaries, do save that 12 hours per week per supervisor. And that's freeing them up, like I said, for high value coaching and strategy. And these vendors design all around the supervisor experience from a point of reality. So giving them real-time insight, automated QA, quality management, and predictive analytics instead of just static dashboards. Now, by contrast, I think platforms that treat supervisors as just kind of another role, to your point, still rely on manual audits and after the fact reporting. And we've all seen the stats from years past on how contact center supervisors and QM leaders as well were manually evaluating usually a very, very small percentage of their contact center interactions. And we know across so many leading market reports that AI is now automated even 100% of those interactions in contact centers. So that change isn't just technical. It isn't just from a product perspective. I know we're talking a lot about product, of course. It's really a huge cultural shift. It means supervisors spend more time developing their people and less time kind of verifying performance. DMG Consulting's 2024 to 2025 CCAS report goes even further into this, noting that advanced CCAS providers now provide the ability to dynamically switch agents between groups or queues, access recording and interaction transcripts, build customizable real-time dashboards based on standard or user-defined metrics for queue and agent management. And they can manage alerts and notifications as well based on user-defined thresholds. So really what it comes down to is that vendors that lack these features still see supervisors stuck in this administrative loop where they're switching between disconnected tools. So to me, the difference is this. I think vendors that see supervisors as strategic, power users give them the time, the tools, and the trust. So they give them the time through automation, like we've talked about. They give them tools through unified analytics, and they give them trust through visibility to make those data-driven decisions. The others still see supervisors as auditors in spreadsheets, unfortunately.
I love the point you made about really shifting them from kind of focused on performance to coaching, because I think as we look ahead, agents are going to be taking on so much. And with AI and automation taking a lot of work off of their plate, they really need that coaching and that insight from their supervisors. And so if we're not empowering them to give that and to really focus in on coaching, development, then we're going to see really everyone struggle. So it's such an important piece. So with that, we're kind of trying to shift from this reactive mindset to a proactive approach. So what patterns are you seeing around that shift from reactive to proactive in terms of performance management?
Absolutely, Brooke. So I think that, well, like we've been talking about, AI really enables the supervisors to fill that gap of real-time guidance and predictive analytics, which either didn't exist before or was extremely time-consuming and likely very manual. When we spoke with Donna Flusk at DMG Consulting, she called this the AI brain that orchestrates all of 45 plus contact center systems. It's that continuous optimizing of performance. So this is a huge shift from since now supervisors can spend less time, again, doing those auditing and more time analyzing performance patterns and creating more personalized coaching plans. So I believe that supervisors are becoming those analysts of performance trends rather than just monitors of behavior in this more reactive sense.
So in your conversations with CX buyers, you mentioned this idea of proactive visibility. So how often is that mentioned as a top priority or a gap right now?
Yeah, so we spoke with a lot of CX buyers, and these buyers had, titles like VPs or heads of customer experience or service. And proactive visibility, that term itself comes up often, but it comes up often, but maybe not in such a direct way. So it's more of a pain point that's implied through their priorities and their frustrations. What we're really hearing is that CX leaders are hungry for greater visibility. I think we can all agree with that statement that it's usually buried in this broader goal like modernizing legacy systems, connecting data sources, and empowering teams to make smarter decisions in real time. And how this topic showed up in conversations can best be described in kind of the following buckets. So first, system modernization. So nearly every single CX leader that we mentioned or that we talked to talked about integration challenges. Now there's so many tools out there. As I mentioned in my last answer, 45 plus contact center solutions out there that are being optimized by performance. So tech stacks are very, very large. And their priority is reducing the inefficiencies by adopting AI and automation tools that will hopefully future-proof their contact center investment. They want visibility across these systems to understand where inefficiencies are hiding and how to act on them before they impact the customer, right? Next, we see the need for proactive visibility that came up in discussions with overall like CX metrics and root cause analysis and fixing. So metrics like NPS, CSAT, first call resolution are still core, but the underlying desire to understand what's really driving those numbers is so important. So proactive visibility here means identifying those issues before, again, they affect customers. So getting ahead of churn, not reacting to it. Of course, this came up when we were talking about AI and automation. Again, AI is a consistent trend. Leaders are leaning into AI, not just for automation, but for real insights, real-time data analysis that helps them anticipate customer needs. Visibility isn't just about dashboards. It's about giving CX leaders and supervisors the intelligence that predicts and prevents problems. That's the key. We also heard from our conversations with multiple CX buyers that proactive visibility is key for better cross-functional collaboration. And I love this point so much, and it felt so great to be validated in this way, because true visibility also depends on the collaboration between different teams, even outside of the formal contact center. This means unifying that data across the organization to drive better customer experiences overall. Without that data alignment across teams, visibility just breaks down. And it makes sense because we know that so many teams are interacting with customers, again, even outside the formal contact center. So if you don't have a unified view of the customer journey and their overall health, which again, many teams contribute to, then you're missing the full picture of their experience. And finally, back to the human element, I know this is a really long answer in the supervisor's role, but I think proactive visibility came up when they shared how important overall culture, morale, and agent empowerment is to them. CX leaders and supervisors are deeply aware that visibility isn't just a tech problem, it's a people and cultural issue as well. They're investing in better training and tools to truly empower these teams. and ensuring agents have the confidence and the right technology to make proactive decisions, to feel empowered to do so. So I know this is a really long answer to your question, but I want to make one final note that when supervisors invest in the right AI technology for their agents, they reap the benefits. So in the 2025 Agent Experience Survey by Cavil, 87% of the agents surveyed, which was about 500 agents across the US and Canada, said AI is actually making their jobs easier. So this is a huge insight in terms of engagement and helping to reduce potential burnout, as I mentioned earlier.
Thank you for sharing all of that. No, I think visibility is so important. And when we think about really shifting to a proactive kind of approach, we can't do that without visibility, because if we're not able to see, what we're dealing with, how we can react accordingly and be proactive, then we're never going to be able to solve some of these issues. So thank you for sharing all that information. So I want to talk a little bit more about that real-time coaching that we talked a little bit about before. So why do you think real-time coaching is still potentially a struggle for so many contact centers, even with modern platforms?
Yeah, unfortunately, many CCaaS platforms still rely on those siloed systems and that challenge that I was just speaking to. So Metrigy's Success Group, in their recent reports, which are companies who overcome this by using unified platforms that connect quality assurance, analytics, and coaching in real time. They saw that they're producing higher revenue per agent and shorter resolution times. So being able to manually cherry pick interactions to evaluate while also having AI automatically transcribe the majority of your interactions in the same platform, where you can also make, real-time on-the-fly changes, like assigning agents to a queue where maybe an SLA is at risk of breaching a threshold, is really crucial. So supervisors need the flexibility of a platform that gives them both the ability to conduct deep analysis while also making changes in real time. And there are, quite a few platforms that just aren't showing up in that way for supervisors, unfortunately.
So from a product perspective, because we've talked a lot about technology and how it can really support the supervisor experience, what features or design elements matter most when we want to really have that real-time intervention?
Absolutely. So I believe I touched a little bit on this in my previous answer to your question, but it's really about the flexibility to analyze historical trends and then having the tools to efficiently make changes also on the fly or rapid fire. So I believe we don't talk about this enough, but a lot of our customers and the CX buyers that we spoke to are appreciative of a mobile application to support, especially those real-time changes, right? We all know that the days of supervisors walking the floor 100% of the time, looking over, tapping someone's shoulder and jumping in, are over, for better or for worse. So supervisors need these types of insights and tools to make these changes on the fly, especially when they have fully remote or hybrid teams. I also believe that some functionality from a real-time intervention perspective also includes the ability to live monitor screens as well as audio. So with employees often having to use functionality like co-browsing, for example, to resolve common customer support issues, I think that live screen recording is a tried and true technology needed, especially in this hybrid and remote world. And that one's just such a funny use case because it's been around for a while, but it's still so important and still really applies to a lot of these supervisors and organizations today.
Definitely. I mean, we've seen so much change over the last few years. And like you said, these technologies are still so critical because when we're not all in the same space, we still need to be able to engage and interact in a meaningful way. And so these tools really do bring us together, which brings me to my next point, which is talking about that, the normalization of hybrid and remote teams. How do you see the supervisor role really evolving as we continue to see these trends in the workforce?
Absolutely. So I think one of the clearest signs of this evolution is the growing interest in mobile-friendly supervisor tools. Initially, I believe that a lot of vendors in the CCaaS space were really leading the charge, pushing mobile applications and remote capabilities. But now, I think especially over the past year, and of course with the pandemic, supervisor demand has really caught up. And we're seeing supervisors utilize mobile applications for real-time filtering by agents, groups, queues, and media types. But it's not just about, checking in anymore. It's really about making critical decisions from wherever supervisors may be.
So from a usability standpoint, what do supervisors need on mobile versus desktop?
Yeah, that's a great question. So, from a usability perspective or standpoint, what supervisors need on mobile differs significantly from what they need on a desktop application. So, in my opinion, I think on mobile, it's really all about quick visibility and alerts. It's who's available, overall queue health, and immediate escalations that may be needed to be conducted. On desktop, they're really digging into trends. So, they're configuring workspaces, running performance reports, and managing detailed agent and queue settings. So mobile really supports that agility, and desktop really supports that depth of analysis.
Got it. Yeah, I mean, it's such an interesting time where it's like mobile versus desktop, and we use them for so many different things. And so having the right capabilities and understanding how we use each is so important.
Mhm.
So what kinds of location agnostic controls and alerts are buyers most likely to ask about when you have sales conversations?
Yeah, so in many of our conversations with CX leaders and supervisors alike, we're seeing really strong buyer interest in those location agnostic controls, like the ability to change an agent status or monitor queue SLAs or intervene in live interactions from anywhere. So alerts about agent inactivity, queue buildups, or interaction duration thresholds are really hot topics because they give supervisors a sense of presence even when they may be working remotely. So a really common use case that we see from supervisors with our current customers and also in the market that we spoke to is the ability to identify when an agent is set to an unavailable status and being able to quickly update them to an available status from anywhere. And I want to bring this up how important location agnostic controls are from even a retail perspective specifically. So if you think about a national, let's say a fashion retailer, and they're running a flash sale across 300 stores and it's an online shop. As traffic spikes, the contact center supervisor logs into their custom dashboard and immediately sees call queues and chat volumes are surging in the returns and exchanges queue, triggered by like a sudden promotion, right? So using intraday management within workforce management, they can spot that the East Coast team is over capacity while the Midwest queue is underutilized. So with a few clicks, they can reassign staff and extend shifts, ensuring coverage without overstaffing. And at the same time, AI forecasting models project a second spike, and this is all hypothetical, but they project a second spike in 2 hours as the sales emails keep hitting those inboxes of customers. The supervisor gets an alert and schedules part-time staff to log in early, all handled automatically through schedule adherence tracking. So throughout the day, they can monitor agent performance in real time. If the handle times creep up again, the dashboard triggers dynamic notifications prompting coaches to jump in via whisper mode and assist, for example. And when the surge calms down, the system will automatically scale back staffing to reduce those overtime costs. The result is that customers don't experience those long wait times, supervisors don't scramble, and the retailer provides that consistent customer experience even during really unpredictable or high pressure retail moments. And remember, again, all of this can be done from a remote space that the supervisors are working in. So it's pretty incredible.
Yeah, I mean, such a great example, and getting that like holistic picture where you're able to really spot challenges before they arise and be hyper prepared is so great for so many different organizations and different use cases. So you talked a lot just now about this kind of remote future where we can do things when we're not necessarily in the same location. So how do you think expectations for managing from anywhere are changing the definition of supervisor effectiveness?
Yeah, I mean, all of this is really defining or redefining what it means to be an effective supervisor. And I think it's actually a great moment for supervisors to take on this more strategic role. So in my mind, success today is measured not only on how well someone manages a team, but how well they can do so asynchronously and remotely. So unified platforms, especially those who create unified AI journeys across different solutions, maybe like UCaaS and CCaaS and mobile applications for supervisors, are making this possible, offering that real-time data visibility and configuration tools that can be personalized by each supervisor's style and responsibilities. And back to my earlier point about how supervisors face this, this daunting challenge of maintaining high quality human connections that consumers want with AI investments, but also keeping costs low. 60% of supervisors say AI is creating more jobs than it's replacing, according to that report by Metrigy on CX optimization that I mentioned at the top of the webinar. So I believe that the expectations for supervisors managing from anywhere is also rising, considering that with every AI investment potentially means more agent roles to manage those more complex interactions, right? So again, it's about finding that balance between empathetic human connection and cost-effective AI where it makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, that balance is something that we're all striving for because it is just so important to customers and to agents. So completely agree and appreciate your insight there. So we've talked a lot about all of the amazing ways that we can help supervisors, and that's amazing, but there are always challenges. So what do buyers describe as the most frustrating inefficiencies right now in their supervisory tools?
Yeah, it's really unfortunate as we're making all this progress. There's still, like to your point, a lot of challenges that remain. And what we're hearing from leading analysts who talk to our CX buyers, our ideal customer profile all the time, are highlighting that really fragmented visibility across channels is a top frustration. Supervisors need those unified insights across digital and voice touchpoints. And we hear that adding digital channels is a constant area where supervisors and CX leaders want to invest, but the biggest hurdle is ensuring that they're unified. So it's not just enough to add a new channel. Supervisors and CX leaders are looking to ensure that all of their channels contribute to that unified understanding of the customer journey, right? And I'd also say lack of customizable workspaces is a big one too. With so many AI players in CCaaS space, especially, supervisors need that flexibility to kind of bring their own AI or bring their own partners into their workspaces to drive a more informed decision-making process for them. So being able to bring in your own widgets or customize your dashboard to put the data that you care about front and center is really critical. And if you're selling a solution that's hard coding even simple things like editing column sizes or tables in your main supervisor dashboard or workspace, then I think you're just really going to be left behind in this space. And I think it just continues to perpetuate challenges that supervisors really face day to day.
Earlier, you talked a little bit about silos and how those are also a challenge. What are some of the consequences when supervisors have a really fragmented visibility across channels?
Yeah, I know I sound like a broken record here, but when supervisors don't have that unified visibility across voice, chat, and digital channels, it creates this cascade of downstream issues, both operational and cultural. So first, quality and coaching becomes reactive instead of proactive. So DMG Consulting's 2024 to 2025 CCaaS product and market report found that fragmented data across systems is one of the top inhibitors of performance optimization. And supervisors spend so much time reconciling reports instead of leading their teams. And that lag directly impacts customer experience consistency. DMG also calls this out very clearly, saying, quote, fragmented data is a major problem across companies. Employees are using even multiple CRMs or no CRM at all, and conversations aren't captured anywhere. So second, also coaching quality drops, right? So Metrigy's CX optimization study that I've been talking about found that organizations with integrated QA, WEM, and analytics tools saw overall higher CSAT and agent consistency, while those with siloed systems experienced longer feedback cycles and higher attrition. Third, it really slows down decision-making overall. So when every channel has its own siloed report, supervisors can't see that, again, that full customer journey. That makes it really difficult to identify friction points or forecast demand accurately. So Forrester's 2025 CCAS wave reinforces this point. So leading platforms now score 100% of interactions and map sentiment trends across channels precisely, because contact center leaders need a single source of truth to make those real-time adjustments. And finally, those silos really, to speak to a more cultural point, they erode morale. Supervisors can feel like traffic controllers instead of coaches when they have fragmented tools. They're firefighting metrics rather than developing their people. When visibility is fragmented, every improvement becomes really manual, and burnout usually follows pretty quickly after. So the real consequence of silos isn't just like slower reporting, it's the loss of supervisory leverage. And AI and unified analytics really restore that leverage by giving those leaders context, not just data, letting them shift from monitoring to managing with true insight.
Yeah, I mean, it's so true. It goes beyond just frustration. It really deeply impacts everyone when the data just isn't accessible, and it's just difficult. And like you said, it's not just about like the end result. It's really like the whole journey. And when that's frustrating and when it has friction, it just can be so difficult for supervisors. So completely agree. So last question I have for you before we take a few audience questions, and I love this question. How do you define a resilient supervisor in today's CX environment?
Absolutely. So I believe that a resilient supervisor, again, to my earlier points, really leverages AI for foresight and not hindsight. So they're using automation to adapt their staffing, to be a better coach, and using performance insights really more dynamically. They're proactively looking for opportunities where AI makes sense. So they're not just implementing AI for the sake of it. For example, according to Metrigy, supervisors using AI forecasting can reduce last-minute schedule adjustments by 6+ hours a week, which was previously manual work. Also, so much valuable employee and customer feedback is hiding in your speech analytics solution. So I think resilient, future-forward supervisors are using AI sentiment analytics to also help identify burnout and stress indicators early, even in their own team. So lastly, I truly believe that a resilient supervisor in today's CX environment is also keeping a very close eye on how AI investments are affecting their human agents. In the same survey that I mentioned earlier, that 2025 Agent Experience Survey by Cavil, 45% of the agents surveyed said that their workload has actually increased after their organization made AI investments. So supervisors have to strike that balance too between adding AI to drive those efficiencies and those cost reductions and overall TCO, but also ensuring that their agents have what they need to reduce that potential for burnout and attrition.
So I would love to switch now to some audience questions. Please feel free to submit your questions. We have plenty of time to answer them. I already see a few here in the chat. So now is the time. We'd love to answer your questions. So first, Natalie, I have a question here. Are you seeing a trend toward AI being used to amplify decision-making versus fully automating it in supervisory roles?
Yeah, I mean, I think absolutely that's definitely something that AI is amplifying supervisor roles rather than making them obsolete or getting in the way of their strategic thinking. So I think we talked about this a lot during the webinar that, AI is everywhere. We're in this era where everybody's wanting to implement AI for that operational efficiency. But at the end of the day, I don't think that we're anywhere close to replacing that human insight and that human intelligence that especially supervisors in a contact center role really face. It is helping them to make smarter decisions on the fly. It's helping them to analyze and find trends more efficiently, right? But it's all that that human element that we can't seem to replace. And I personally hope that we don't replace fully, because I think that's really the magic, and it's their own take, it's their own perspective with all that knowledge that they know about their contact center. So I really do feel like it amplifies them rather than holding them back or replacing them.
I agree. I think we're so at this point where we want technology to help amplify us. We're looking for that human connection. And I think for some people, it can feel daunting, but when it does truly amplify, it's so much, our agents are so much more productive and everything is just better. So I think we're at an exciting point. I see another question here. In your opinion, Natalie, what makes the CX platform truly supportive of leadership rather than just agents?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I really believe that for contact center supervisors specifically, the winning platforms really unify that real-time performance signaling with the action levers that I talked about a little bit earlier, right? So it's workforce planning, it's intelligent coaching and intelligent routing, automated quality, and tools to really provide that proactive level of coaching. So inside one specific customizable workspace. So in McKinsey's 2025 analysis of like the right mix of humans and AI, it really underscores that the real business outcomes come from connecting analytics to interventions. So we're not just adding bots. And I feel like the best organizations know that, and they're supporting supervisors in that way.
Another question here, and again, we have a few more minutes left, so please submit more questions. Tell me about agent attrition. What can supervisors do to reduce agent burnout and reduce attrition? I think this is such a great question.
Yeah, I totally agree, Brooke. I mean, I've just looked at so many different reports, and it can be hard to kind of find reporting on agent attrition in different regions in 2025 as well. But I did find in the 2025 Contact Babel report, it's called Emotion-Driven Retention in the AI Era. It states that 83% of contact center leaders say emotional stress is now the top driver of agent attrition. Also, each agent costs an average of $9,000 to replace when they leave, and this is for a typical like 500 seat contact center. So burnout and absence really create a whopping 2 million in annual losses in replacement and productivity costs. And these are numbers for UK-based contact centers specifically, but they did run the same report, like the same questions for US-based contact centers. And the report states that the annual agent attrition costs for a 500-seat operation in the US, experiencing like a typical attrition rate of 41% for a large contact center. That means 205 agents per year at the total attrition cost of $14,000 per agent. Now, doing all that math, it amounts to a whopping $2.9 million per year that you could be losing because of agent burnout and ultimately attrition. So we're seeing across the board from analysts and from supervisors and CX buyers directly that agent attrition has re-accelerated, and we hear this all the time. I don't think we've ever gone a year without talking about agent attrition, but Metrigy found that contact center turnover was rising back in 2022 from 21% to 28. And then in 2023, it was projected to hit 31% in 2024. Now, I might have missed it. Robin's very, very detailed, so I might have missed the more recent numbers, but you can see that we're continuing to see burnout and agent attrition just continuing to be this huge challenge. And the same research shows that AI is reducing hiring pressure and can meaningfully ease workloads when applied in assistive like use cases. But again, it's not a replacement. Across so many reports from what I've seen and from customer feedback directly, I don't believe that we're seeing companies completely replace their human contact center agent workforce like it may seem in the press or in these different outlets, right? Again, the vast majority are actually experiencing business growth after implementing AI. So they are hiring more contact center agents, usually to assist with those more complex inquiries on the voice channel, primarily with email a close second. So my recommendation for supervisors to address this rising attrition challenge is to, one, remove that friction that agents may experience with AI-powered agent assistance. Two is redesign schedules and escalation paths around real-time signals. And lastly, make it mandatory to coach weekly at least to keep a pulse on your agents, provide them with personalized guidance, and truly be a partner to them.
Such great recommendations. I have another question here. What does it look like when a supervisor is truly empowered to act independently in their workspace?
Absolutely. So I know we touched on this quite a bit in elements earlier in the webinar, but I think it really looks like a single workspace or single console where signals like quality, sentiment, queue health, potential policy breaches, etc., are fused with easy to use tools to make those real-time changes on the fly. So whether that means rerouting, the ability to do even basic things like whisper, barge, etc., creating those like WFM type of adjustments with schedules, ideally leveraging AI to really reduce manual calculations in those schedules, and real-time coaching suggestions through even agent assistant tools if supervisors can't be on calls all at once, which of course they can't. And again, I do want to mention, sorry, I forgot to mention this, that McKinsey's 2025 report and their research shows that workflow redesign, not just tools alone, is a top predictor of realizing the impact in terms of earning before interest and taxes from Gen AI investments. So when leaders can move from just seeing to doing in one place, I think the value really shows up in terms of those really tried and true metrics like CSAT and reduced costs overall.
I have two more questions, and then if anyone wants to submit any more, this is your last chance. Okay, so another question here. How are organizations quantifying the ROI of supervisor enablement initiatives?
That's a great question. Quantifying. I mean, I think some of these metrics can be kind of all over the place, but I think, you know, a big one is being able to spot those inefficiencies through analytics and through that deep analysis that they're able to do. So really looking at, you know, maybe even a number of transfers. If you could see that the number of transfers is lowering over time, which we have seen from our customers, they've been interested in that after they've applied, you know, more AI, maybe an AI virtual assistant for digital or voice channel. That's a good indication that that enhancement or that release is in the right direction. I think also this is kind of anecdotal, but and not super quantifiable, but I think just reaching out to your agents and during those coaching sessions, getting a pulse on their morale, how are they feeling? That is also, I think, a really important indicator of things are working in the right direction, where AI is truly helping them, but it's not, I know that's not a super quantifiable number or metric, but that's something, these are just some of the things that we hear from customers.
Last question, and thank you so much, Natalie, for all of your time here. What's the difference between giving supervisors data and actually helping them make decisions?
Oh, that's a great question. I really do think it's being able to, I feel like a broken record, but it's being able to not only show the supervisors data in a meaningful way where they can access it really easily, but it's also giving them tools that are all in one place so they can take action on it. So if they wanted to, for example, I'm going to use a really specific example for our platform. In our 8x8 supervisor workspace application, they can just click on one button and find all of their interactions. So they can find even post-call survey results by individual question. They can look at aggregated scores. They can open up an evaluation form. They could see an interaction. They can play back. I mean, they could do so many different things just by clicking that one button in that one area. We call it the interaction retrieval widget. So it's things like that where data for the sake of data is never a great thing, right? We want to give people and supervisors especially like quick access, quick one click, 2-click access to things that they really need to do on the fly. So they can go down that rabbit hole. And if they're looking at an interaction, they can see the sentiment. They can see the different pieces of where the agent was maybe having a hard time answering a question. They can leave comments right then and there. So I think that's the real difference between just handing someone over a bunch of data and actually kind of guiding them and giving them the tools to make sense and make those really informed, really important decisions and actually act on it.
Well, thank you so much, Natalie, for joining us and sharing all of this insight. It's so helpful to hear from you. And I know you have a resource that you wanted to share with the audience, so feel free to do that now.
Absolutely. Thanks, Brooke. And I really appreciate everybody attending and all the engagement that we got today. I hope this was helpful. And if you're curious about 8x8 and how we support supervisors in this AI-driven era by helping them really drive efficiency and support their human agents with AI where it makes sense, you can check out our Supervisor Workspace click-through demo on the left side of this webinar.
Thank you, Natalie, and thank you, everyone.
Thanks, everybody.